Y fue a esa edad, llegó la poesía a buscarme. No sé de dónde salió, de invierno o río. No sé cómo ni cuándo. No eran voces, no eran palabras ni silencio. Pero desde una calle me llamaba, desde las ramas de la noche. De pronto entre los otros, entre fuegos violentos o regresando solo, allí estaba sin rostro y me tocaba. Yo no sabía qué decir, mi boca no sabía nombrar, mis ojos eran ciegos y algo golpeaban mi alma, fiebre o alas perdidas, y me fui haciendo solo, descifrando aquella quemadura. Escribí la primera línea vaga, sin cuerpo, pura tontería, pura sabiduría del que no sabe nada. Y vi de pronto el cielo desgranado y abierto, planetas, plantaciones palpitantes, la sombra perforada, acribillada por flechas, fuego y flores, la noche arrolladora, el universo. Y yo, mínimo ser, ebrio del gran vacío constelado, a semejanza, a imagen del misterio, me sentí parte pura del abismo, rodé con las estrellas, mi corazón se desató en el viento.
That was Pablo Neruda reading his own poem called La Poesia. And that's going to be, we'll talk more about that in a sec, but we are starting on a poetry unit. So, welcome back to English 9. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be posting an English version in just a sec. Don't worry if you didn't follow along with that. But I feel like it's best to read the poem, or hear the poem in its own language before we actually read it. So, a few things. I will be posting grades today. That'll be something I'll be working on. All the stuff that you guys have turned in, I've seen it, and I'll be grading it today. What will be if you've turned it in, it will be graded. But to be very clear, if it's not turned in, it will not be graded. So that means there will be no negative grades. If you didn't do the work, you won't get anything for it at this time. I want to say that that could be changing. I know that we are, as a school, working on distributing technology later this week, possibly. And so once that's done, it could be that the governor could then say they are required to do the work and it will be graded. So my advice is try and do the work. If you need help, let me know. But my advice is be working on that work. I would say last week I posted the Leo. This week I'm posting it again. But I want to stress that it's formative and it's for practice, just to keep your daily skills going on. I'll probably be putting most of my attention on the poetry unit that we're going to start on right now. I'll talk more about that in just a sec. So work on the Leo. Do it. It's pretty simple. Just reading 30 minutes, reading a short article, writing a short writing assignment. I think that's stuff that'll keep you guys up to date. It'll be fresh. I think there's no reason not to do it. But I'll be focusing most of my attention and most of the announcements on the poetry unit we're starting today. So what is the poetry unit? It's very simple. Basically, every day I'll be posting a poem and a short video or article about that poet. That might be overwhelming every day, I know. But I want to be clear about this. You don't have to do something every day. What I'll be asking you to do is every other day, so every 2 days, I'll be asking you to write a poem in that same kind of style. So we'll have poems where we do ode poems, or we'll do poems where it's you have to use a poem that has a metaphor in it. You have to write a poem that has you take an object and you write about it. Something like that every day, and then every other day you'll have to write a poem about that. Sorry if that's confusing. Read the announcement. It's probably clearer than I am right now. So my advice is to just read the poem, watch the video, maybe find a reading of the poem, really try to understand how it works, and then write your own version. So today is what is poetry poem? What is poetry? You heard that previous poem by Pablo Neruda. It was basically him talking about how poetry has affected him, and I'm going to read it right now in English. It's a translation that's been provided. And I'm going to ask you to write a kind of a poem like he did. What's poetry? So this is Poetry by Pablo Neruda, translated by Alistair Reed. And it was at that age poetry arrived. In search of me, I don't know where. It came from winter or a river. I don't know how or when. No, they were not voices, they were not words, nor silence, but from a street I was summoned, from the branches of night, abruptly from the others. Among violent fires, or returning alone, there I was without a face, and it touched me. I do not know what to say, my mouth had no way with names, my eyes were blind, and something started in my soul. Fever or forgotten wings, and I made my own way, deciphering that fire, and I wrote the first faint line, faint, without substance, pure nonsense, pure wisdom, of someone who knows nothing, and suddenly I saw the heavens, unfastened and open, planets, palpitating plantations, shadow perforated, riddled with arrows, fire and flowers, the winding night and the universe, and I, infinitesimal being, drunk with the great starry void, likeness, image of mystery, felt myself a pure part of the abyss. I wheeled with the stars, my heart broke loose on the wind. So, that's poetry by Pablo Neruda, and I actually think it's an excerpt. I think the version I played before goes on a bit longer. So, what I want you guys to do today is very simple. We saw that poem by Pablo Neruda. I'll post a link to it. I'll also post a short video that kind of introduces him, what he's like. It was really quick, 4 or 5 minutes, really interesting stuff. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to write a poem about what you think poetry is. So there's 2 ways you can do that, and I'll post this in the assignment today. One way is this. I have several different lines, and I just want you to fill in the blanks, such as, poetry is blank. Poetry is like blank. Poetry is about blank. Poetry is as important as blank. Poetry is as pointless as blank. Poetry means blank. Poetry is blank. And you can just fill in the blanks there, and you'll have a basic poem. I actually did it this morning, and I was like, oh, that actually doesn't sound as god-awful as I thought it was going to be, like, very boring. So you can do that, or you can just very simply, and I'll have this in the assignment too, just write your own poem about what you think poetry is and what you think it does. Either way is fine. That's kind of the basic thing about poetry. I'm not a poet, but that's one of the basic things I know. Poetry is almost anything. So, I hope you guys have an excellent day. I hope this is not too overwhelming. Again, all I'm really asking you to do is just open up this assignment and write a short poem about what you think poetry is. You can fill in the blanks, or you can write it by yourself. The Leo Learning Extension Opportunities, again, to attach this announcement, and I'll also post that as an assignment. I'd recommend doing that just to keep your skills up to date. Read an article, they're interesting, but I'm not going to be talking about them as much as I'm going to be talking about the poets. So I hope you guys have an excellent day. I hope everything's going great. If you need anything, if you need any help at all, please let me know. Open for emails, open for video conferencing. Let me know, and yeah, we'll look into this. Last thing I'll say is we're probably going to do a video conference on Wednesday, but we'll get more information as that goes. Maybe Friday. We'll see. Anyway, cheers.